Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Ever since I was a kid, I've been kind of a collector, and I collected stamps and I collected coins, various other things. Um, Today, I thought I'd do something with a coin that I've not done before, and that's to make a ring out of it. I picked out an ancient Roman coin. It's a 4th century small bronze coin, about 16 millimeters across, I think, so it's not a terribly large coin. And we're going to do kind of a quick and dirty ring made out of it, and I think it'll be kind of fun. So let's get a start on this one. Okay, this is one of my design idea sketchbooks. You can get these on my merch store. Most of them have some useful information on the backs, like charts to convert units or information about melting temperatures, things like that. So check it out, they're really useful. I use them to keep track of my projects, and I filled up maybe 4 of them now, or 5 of them over the past 4 or 5 years. And so I always have a record of what I made, and I can go back and figure out how I did it without having to reinvent the wheel each time, so it's kind of nice. This is what I had in mind today, and I'm going to do an ancient coin. I got really into ancient coins as a younger adult, and it's surprisingly easy to get a hold of Roman coins. This is an example, and this is the one I'm going to use, but I dragged out a few. I have a bunch of ones that I cleaned up. You can buy them from metal detectorists over in various parts of the world via eBay or some other places, but um, sometimes you get some pretty nice ones. And so, knowing that I was doing a ring, I didn't want a huge one. These are small bronze coins. These ones would be considered AE3s, and these ones are AE4s. AE stands for bronze. These are 4th century, meaning they were in the 300 and some to early 400s. Some of the different emperors that they could be, I can't actually see the letters well enough anymore on this guy, so I couldn't tell you which one it is. A lot of them look very similar, but they usually have some kind of propagandistic thing on the back, like they'll say like Concordia or Pax Romana or whatever, which, peace of the Roman Empire. Um, but it could be Valens, could be Valentinian, any of the several Valentinians, Theodosiuses, Gratian, Magnus Maximus, Arcadius, Honorius. Uh, my guess would be Valens or Valentinian, probably on this one, but I'm not really good at that anymore. I haven't played with them too much in recent years. Um, Criteria I used mostly was this. This was about the right size of one I wanted. And unlike a lot of Roman coins, this one's relatively round. You can see the different, they call the little bit of metal that they struck the coin on the flan. And some of them come off of pretty irregular flans, or they split when they strike them. And so the edges aren't very round or regular. So this one was pretty good, and it had a decent head on it. And the back is pretty good too, actually. You can see a couple of soldiers, I think, standing next to a Roman standard, which is a pretty common theme on the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a bezel out of fine silver bezel strip, 3/16 inch high. I may file it down to match the height that I need it to be. I'm going to put a step on the inside made out of, the bezel is 26 gauge too, which is, it turns out to be 4.76 millimeters by 0.41 millimeters. The step I'm going to make out of 16 gauge square wire, which is 1.3 millimeters. The band I'm going to make out of 8 gauge half round, 3 pieces of that. And that's 3.25 millimeters wide, if I recall correctly. And then I'm going to put a strip of flattened 10 gauge square wire, which starts out at 2.6 millimeters, I think. Now let's see how flat I made it. I just kind of eyeballed it to see it about as thick as I wanted it to be, which ended up being about 1.25 millimeters, so 1.25 millimeters. So yeah, we're going to make a bezel for this one first, and then we'll make a band. And somewhere in the middle, we'll add this as a border around it. I'm going to elevate it a little bit. Mostly I'm doing it this way because I am low on thick sheet. I wanted to originally do it kind of a dome sheet piece, and I'll do one of those sometime soon. But I felt like doing a Roman coin today. So my other coin videos, if you haven't seen them, I'm going to make a playlist, and I'll put a link to it up here, that are how to set different kinds of coins. There's lots of things you can set besides stones. Coins, beach glass. I did like a fashion button for someone one time. They wanted it has a CC on it. I don't remember what brand that is, but I'm not a big fashion guy, so. But there's lots of different things you can set, and this is a way to set a coin in a ring. So let's make a bezel first. I feel a little rambly today, so if I get verbose, you can tell me in the comments that talk less. I'm usually only verbose when I write stuff. Okay, so making a bezel for a coin is pretty much like you would for a stone. I'm just going to get the shape roughly round. One thing also about coins, generally you never want to polish coins, and especially with these ancient ones, they have kind of a cool patina on them. The bronze turns kind of a greenish color, and sometimes blackish like this. I'll show a close-up at the end after we're done of the coin, so you can kind of get a look at the head. It's going to be kind of hard to see on the camera here, but that looks pretty tight. If you're new to my channel and you want to see the kinds of solder and flux and torch that I use, here's some information about that. Almost every week I do a video for my Patron group too, and I did an Art Nouveau sort of ring yesterday for them. Posted it this morning. Okay, so I usually go about 2/3 of the way down the length, and about halfway down the long side after I make that first bend, maybe a little more. And then I get these two sides to meet in the middle, and that'll give us a nice clean solder joint if we solder it that way. So I'm going to push them past a little bit so that they're kind of springing towards each other. You really want that when you're doing stuff like this, because silver relaxes under heat, and if you don't have it pushing together pretty hard, when it does get hot, it'll kind of slump a little bit, and then you'll end up with a gap in your bezel usually. So having them pushing together tightly is always a good idea. So because you don't want to clean coins or remove any of their patina generally, especially with the ancient coins, I will be polishing this without the coin in it, and then we'll set the coin after it's polished. If I was to set say a silver denarius or something more valuable in a ring, I think I would probably set it in such a way that there's kind of a protective ridge around the outside, so that it was hard to actually bang into the coin itself and scratch it. These ones are low enough value, but also probably a little more durable as bronze coins. So silver is pretty soft. Okay, I'm just going to shape this a little bit. So let's find some 14 gauge square. I have a little bit over here. And we're going to make a little shelf on the inside of the bezel here, generally called a step. Square wire, when you're bending it like this, has a tendency to want to twist because it's trying to find an easier way to bend. Because you're asking the inside edge to compress really tightly and the outside edge to stretch, and it doesn't really want to do that. So you have to coax it out of trying to go into a diagonal direction. This will give me a pretty close estimate of where to cut this. I like to cut them just a little bit big. That way you can gradually snip them down until they fit in there perfectly. And you don't have an unsightly gap on the bottom. Nobody wants that. You can kind of judge how close we are now. That's pretty close. Maybe just file it a tiny bit more. When we do get to the stage where we're going to solder this in, we want to make sure it's sitting nice and flat. That pops in there pretty good. That looks pretty tight. I don't think we'll have any gaps, so let's make sure this is sitting flat. I find it's easiest to solder these in if you just make a little circle out of some pieces of solder on a flat surface. You need to be a little careful of overheating because I've occasionally melted the inside piece because it's sterling versus the fine silver, which is on the outside, so it has a little bit lower melting temperature. So that looks like it's soldered in. Let's just kind of file it nice and flat. So that fits pretty well. That'll be sitting down at the bottom, so I'm going to file quite a bit of this off. And I might as well do some of it now, so I'll just end up having to do it later. So one of the things I was thinking about doing today is doing a ring where we set a coin. I think I've seen these somewhere before, where you have it on a hinge or a kind of a rotating rod, so you can flip it over and have the backside show up as well. And I think that would be a fun one, but when we go to set this at the end, we'll file it down to where it's just barely above the edge so that we don't cover up a lot of the coin when we go to set it. So we'll take just a skosh more off here. Okay, so now I want to make this border that's going to be, this is going to sit up just a little bit like this to give it a little elevation, and then we'll attach the band to the outside edge of this, and that should give it some strength, I think. So let's see if we can kind of shape this into a reasonably good circle here. Wasn't far off as far as guesses go. It's pretty close. I want this to be so tight that I have to file it a little bit to get it on. If you don't, it's going to have kind of some unevenness around the solder joint where it comes together, and that won't look very good. So let's try and make this pretty tight. It's not too shabby. I think it's probably good enough. Let's see if we can solder that in. So we'll see if it's pretty even all the way around. This is a solderite pad, which is kind of a softer surface. So it allows you to push things into it. It's kind of handy sometimes. Well, let's see how straight it is. So that stayed pretty level, and I have it kind of recessed like that. So I'm going to let that pickle for a bit. And let's make the band now. And like I said, for those, I have 3 pieces of 8-gauge half round, which is about 3.25 milliliters. So let's get these as straight as we can. Okay, so I'm thinking, let's find the center point. I don't want it to be soldered together for part of the way and then gradually split a little bit. And then, let's say we go about 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters each side. And then we'll make a bend outwards, a slight sideways bend. And do the same thing with the outer one here. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to solder those together next. Okay, I set the thing up on top of it here, the head of the ring, and I marked where it went. So let's see if we can kind of Okay, now I'm going to go back and we'll see if we can fit that in there. We'll have to do some vertical filing probably. Okay, so I did a little bit of shaping. I got it pretty good. So let's see if we can get that soldered in there. And then we'll go from there. So it'll be interesting to see what size it comes out to be. I was shooting for about a 12 or 12 and a half. We'll see. So let's get that soldered on. Most of the mass in this one is in that band though. We'll have to spend some time getting that band up to function. Looks like it's on there. Looks like it's straight. I have a mantle here that has a flattish side on it, so it's not as wide as this one. So I'm going to get that cleaned up in the pickle, and we'll get it polished up and set the coin in there, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so I got everything polished up, and I filed this bezel down until it's just barely above the surface of the coin, and I've kind of positioned it so the head was facing towards one side. I do this a little differently than some. I use the flat side of my chain nose pliers as a bezel pusher, and so I'm going to start with that. Just basically push that in. Okay, and then the last part I'm going to do is do a little burnishing, and that's where I use this rounded outer part to really kind of lay that tight against the top of that coin. I've seen others do like ancient Greek coins in settings like this. I used to have one years ago that was it had a Pegasus on it, which was pretty cool. Alright, so that's kind of what I was going for. Little Roman coin. Like I said, when I have a little bit more sheet, I'll do one of these kind of things. And maybe I'll do one of those rings where it flips over so you can, it's on a little rotatey thing. A rotatey thingy-majig. I think that'll be a fun kind of project. So, alright. Roman coin ring. Tell me what you think. Wouldn't necessarily have to be a Roman coin. You could set just about any coin this way. So yeah, let me know what you think. Okay, well that was the ancient Roman coin ring. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go. That really helps to get my channel promoted. I do appreciate that immensely. I'd also love it if you go back and visit my main channel page. I have well over 600 videos now. I've been doing this for about a little over 4 years, and I put out 3 per week. So there's quite a bit of content over there to peruse. I have tons and tons of projects. I have lots of skill videos. So check it out. There's stuff for all different levels of metalsmiths. If you like what you see, I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and it makes it easier to find my videos. So I'd also like to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. They not only provide me with financial support, which is great, they've created a really nice atmosphere over there full of artistic people who can interact and share their ideas and resources. So thank you for making it that way. I really enjoy being over there and working with you guys. I have a new one, Angelica R. Thank you for signing up. I appreciate your support. I think you'll find a great group of people over there that you can get to know, so check it out. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 27,600, I believe, which is amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you also for all of the nice comments, video suggestions, telling me about yourselves or the way that you do things. I always love to hear how people do things differently than me, because that's how you learn, and that's great. Thank you also for the financial support. The Buy Me a Coffees, the super thanks, the buying my merch on my store, or purchasing my ebooks. That stuff all makes my channel sustainable, and I couldn't do it without your help, so thank you for that. Finally, don't forget to visit the video description down below. There's some important links down there. There's links to my Patreon if we want to find out more about that platform and the different tiers of membership and the perks. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks I talked about, or some other metalsmithing related merch. And there's a link to my newest ebook, which is 2025's Guide to the Tutorials I did. There's over 170 videos that I did last year, and there's a page for each of them in the tutorial guide with a link to it, a picture of the sketch I drew prior to the project, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials that it took to make it, stone information if there's a stone on it, a difficulty rating, and some notes I took about the project. Things I might not have talked about in the video, things I realized after the fact, ways I might have changed it if I was to do it again, or things I learned. All that kind of stuff is the way I learn, so hopefully that kind of stuff will help you to learn as well. So check it out. You can even get a 3-pack of the 3 different ones I've done, 2023s, 2024s, and 2025s if you go to the merch store. So get yourself a present. You deserve it. It gives you a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips. That's a really nice way to support my channel, so thank you for that. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.